Alright, hello and welcome everybody to not another cast in Alchemy League Season 7. I just didn't change the overview, but that is the current season of the league that is going on. The work that we are doing today and the presentation that I have for you today, although done during the duration of Alchemy League Season 7, is actually for Alchemy League Season 8, where the league has voted to return to Alaska. And some things in Age of Empires 2 have changed since we last went to Alaska. The first thing that we've got going for us, or the most notable thing, I should say, in addition to a whole slew of new animals, are some new types of bear, some new bear skins. And we are very, very excited about that. Last time when we went to Alaska, we had brown bears and it was good. But now we've got all three kinds of bears now in the July preview update. So I've got on the screen here, and I'm going to zoom into it, and we'll get started with the purpose of, well, we'll get started with the video, but I will just say before we dig into this anymore that the purpose of this video is to design these bears for Alchemy League Season 7, to come up with a set of rules for these bears, and then publish those rules in some place where people can read about what the bears are like. There are no boars in Alaska. It's just bears. So we're going to use, or in terms of like big, I don't want to say it's just bears, but bears are going to be our boar substitute. Boar is, of course, a very important source of early game food in Age of Empires, so we're going to replace that with bears. And the purpose of today's video is to balance these bears with that in mind, given that they're going to be a food source, but they're also kind of a predator, too, at the same time. So I think it should be quite fun. So let us dive into a different overlay. Stream display share. There we go. So we got ourselves a nice little medieval village here with close borders that spark tensions, right? They're right next to their neighbors. And let's take a look. We've got a black bear right here, and we've got a brown bear right here, and we've got a polar bear up here. Now I have already set up this map script to spawn these 3 different types of bears. I don't really think you're going to find any place in Alaska where all 3 of these bears could be on the same map, but no, maybe. I want to keep it simple because map makers don't like this kind of stuff, but we, in the tournament kind of rolls these requirements out to the map makers that says you're not allowed to have any boars on any of your maps because boars don't live in Alaska. However, here are your options for bears, which are an alternative source of food. And depending on the location of the map, they'll choose a different kind of bear. For example, Utqiagvik, way up in the North Slope, is probably going to choose the polar bear, right? That's the kind of bear that lives up in that direction. It wouldn't really make sense to choose any other type of bear besides this polar bear. Whereas some place like Kodiak might choose the brown bears, the grizzly bears, or the black bears, or both. So we definitely want to work out these options. Make sure that they make sense. Make sure that they're fair against each other. So there is something to consider. There are basically 2 things to consider. The first is the amount of food that the bear provides. And then the second consideration is basically what is the cost of that food? How hard is this bear to fight and take down? We don't want the bears to be so hard to take down that, it's just nobody ever uses them. They're just kind of there and people avoid them. That's not fun. And it's a big waste of our time to go in and set up these bears if nobody's going to appreciate them, if they're just eye candy on a map. So we want them to be something a little bit different for the players, but on the other hand, we don't want them to be just pathetic and able to be killed instantly, because that's, that kind of defeats the purpose of the bears too. You got people watching, and there's the whole suspension of disbelief. Magyar villager just comes over here and just like pokes this polar bear with a knife, and then the polar bear just collapses like it had a heart attack immediately after. That's ridiculous too, right? Nobody's going to believe that. So we want these bears to be a challenge, but we don't want the bears to be too much of a challenge. So lucky for us, we have some starting points that we can work off of. The first starting point is we could take just a regular old boar and just give it a grizzly bear or any kind of bear skin so that it looks like a bear, but it's really just a boar underneath, because we know that boars are generally accepted in terms of like their combat statistics and what they can do. People accept the strength of boars. It's pretty well understood. So if we did nothing but have just black bears on our maps, but they were really just boars and we just gave them black bear skin, that would be okay, right? It wouldn't be any different than a normal Age of Empires 2 tournament. It's just that our boars would look like bears. But we want to do something a little bit more complex, and the good news is we do have another starting point to work off of, and that is the fact that we have gone to Alchemy League before, and we actually used brown bears, and the brown bears in that season, Alchemy League Season 4, were stronger than regular boars. And so we have some testing, and I think people have a decent understanding and respect for boars, for the black bears or the brown bears and their statistics from Alchemy League Season 4. So we kind of have a couple of data points there that we can kind of use to basically say this is something that the players will find acceptable. And then with regards to the polar bears, well, my instincts tell me that polar bears should be even more challenging than grizzly bears. They are apex predators in their biome. So we'll kind of have to work off of the relative strengths of the black and the grizzly bears to determine a relative strength of the polar bear. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is I've done kind of a little bit of guessing and a little bit of tinkering on this subject already. You can tell that I've obviously made sort of this random map for bear testing. So we have somewhat of a setup already, and we are going to do some testing here too in a little bit. But I wanted to bring up on the screen and show you, well, I wanted to show you two things. The first thing that I'm going to show you is this is the specification from the Alaska maps. You guys can see these were kind of, at the time, these were the moddable characteristics that we could sort of manipulate. And for Alchemy League Season 4, basically what we did was we took this unit 810, which is the Iron Boar, and we reskinned that to look like a bear. So ordinarily, a boar would have 0/0 armor, and it would have 45 hit points, and it would have 4 line of sight, and this running speed and movement speed and such, and this attack, these statistics. And then, so basically what you see here for Alaskan Bear, these are the statistics for the Iron Boar, which is a hero Gaia unit. It's similar to Ornolu the Wolf. And of course, for those of us that are familiar with classical Age of Conquerors, the Iron Boar is a unit from the campaigns, the Hunnic campaign, the first scenario in that campaign where Attila and Bleda, they go off to fight this Iron Boar together. To join in camaraderie of a hunt, and then Bleda betrays Attila, and he's gonna kill his brother and take command of the Huns himself because their father has either died recently or about to die or whatever, and he's gonna blame it on this Iron Boar because the Iron Boar can't speak English or Hunnic or whatever language they spoke then, so the villagers would just believe that this very dangerous animal just killed Attila the Hun. Well, it turns out that Attila the Hun is ready for it, and he either flees or he fights and kills Bleda, or he just outsmarts him, and the boar does not kill Attila the Hun. So anyway, so we're going to take that Iron Boar hero unit, that fun unit, and we're going to continue to work off of that. But I just want you to know that for Alchemy League Season 4, we basically just reskinned that Iron Boar and gave it slightly different food amount, slightly different hit points amount, actually significantly different hit points amount, and then determined that this was kind of like acceptable for its statistics. So the second thing that I'm going to show you is we kind of expand this concept now. We've got this table here, and it's whenever you're kind of like modding units or creating like unique, immersive, flavorful units, it's the most important thing, and I may not have said this explicitly, so I'm just going to say it now. Basically, pick a unit that exists in-game that nobody could ever want to, or nobody ever will, need to implement on the map or change the map to feature at all in any way, and then change the skin of that unit. And there are some properties of those units that are easy to change, and there are some properties like armor or attack that are very hard to change. So you want to try to pick a unit whose base characteristics and properties are similar to the ones that you're looking for your unit that you're modding, and then hopefully the statistics of that unit are also close. It's actually not trivial to pick these sorts of things out. So here we are with our baseline brown bear from Alchemy League Season 4. There is one difference that I want to say, and that is based on experience from Alchemy League Season 4 and watching the games. We did not want brown bears following everybody across the map. We wanted the brown bears to attack you if you got too close, but then if you backed off, if you left them alone, if you ran away, the brown bear would go back to kind of minding his own business, chomping on berries or hibernating or doing whatever bears do out there in the wild. The problem with that was that people figured out that you could cheese the bear. You could stand at a very specific distance, kind of just outside the engagement radius of the bear, but still within the range of the villagers, the hunting range of the villagers. And you could basically fire arrows at that bear, and as long as you were standing in exactly the right spot, you could send one villager or two villagers to just kill this bear, and it wouldn't even fight back. It would just kind of stand there or run confusedly back and forth while it was being pelted with arrows until eventually it died. And then there's 510 food basically sitting there for free. So we wanted to try and get rid of that. So the disadvantage is, these brown bears are going to be a little bit harder in this season of Alchemy League because now they can't be cheesed. But I think that is a good change because we don't want people cheesing these bears. And also we do want people to be able to lure bears if they need to their town centers. And of course, many of you also know that if you do lure any type of animal, apparently now, to your town center, the game is being updated so that no military unit or building can kill these animals and waste the food. So it used to be, and it still currently is, but they're changing it soon, that if you killed an animal with town center arrow fire or with man-at-arms or something like that, that the food would instantly rot as the animal collapsed to the ground. No longer. The game will be more like Age of Mythology, where now you don't have to kill that animal in a specific way. The meat is still there regardless. So you could accidentally shoot these bears to death with your town center and won't matter. The food will still be harvestable. So that's why this bear is a little bit faster. We buffed his speed a little bit. And there are a couple of other properties which we'll talk about in a little bit that I kind of just, but this is all just a guess. I haven't gone through and I have not rigorously tested like we're going to test today. And we're actually going to create villagers and we're going to throw them against these bears. And we're going to see how many villagers each bear kills. And basically what that will do is that will tell us the relative power level of these bears. And then we're going to essentially take that increase in power and we're basically going to fit it to what's accepted in the game. And then we're going to scale it according to real life as well. So we've got these black bears here, which are based off of the javelina. And these black bears, the javelina is basically just a boar, but Mesoamerican name. These have been around since the Age of Conquerors as well. And so these basically have exactly the same statistics as a regular boar. So this is not going to be a very controversial unit at all. This is kind of like a benchmark. The only difference it looks like here that we've done, actually there are a couple of differences. We've given them some regeneration because we decreased their hit points. And the reason that we decreased their hit points is to make it less than the grizzly bear. And the reason the grizzly bear has such low hit points is because it has very high armor. These are kind of all statistics that we tested for Alchemy League Season 4. So I feel pretty good about these ones. So it has the same attack value, same reload speed as the boar, same speed. It's got this property of melee damage reflection. But that's not really going to come into effect with villagers. This is going to be kind of like an anti-laming thing, where if a scout tries to attack this to lure it away from an enemy's town center, the scout will do damage to itself equal to 50% of what it would have done to the boar, and then the boar will also hit it as well. So it'll be more difficult to lame these things, I think, especially given this melee damage reflection and their regeneration rate. These ones are the same speed as traditional boars. All right. So anyway, that's enough talk. Let's get killing. Let's kill some. Actually, let's explain the statistics just one more time, or at least from the top, and then we'll go and we'll kill some villagers, and that'll be fun. All right. So the black bear is going to have the same behavior as just a regular boar. It's going to relentlessly pursue any villager that harms it. It will never give up, but the black bear will not attack you otherwise. So you could walk around it, you could build near it, you could do whatever you want, but as long as you don't attack it, it will not attack you. It doesn't care how close you get. The brown bear, based on this base unit that the brown bear is built off of, this brown bear will relentlessly pursue any villager that harms it or gets too close. So you don't have to attack this brown bear in order for it to attack you. If you just get too close, it'll attack you anyway. Be like, hey, get out of here. Which I think is realistic. I think black bears, you know, you could kind of fight off a black bear. It's probably still going to beat you because it's a bear and you're not. Unless you are a bear watching this, which congratulations. But a brown bear is just like a whole other level. Like a brown bear you could punch a brown bear in the face and it would just like not feel it. It would just rip you limb to limb. Like this thing, you can't fight back against this thing, so don't try. But with a black bear, you could actually like maybe persuade it to run off if you fought back and gave it a bloody nose or something. And then the polar bear, yeah, polar bear is the same story as the grizzly or brown bear. If you find yourself in 1v1 combat with a polar bear, I'm very sorry, but you're probably dead. A lot of stuff had to go wrong in order for you to be in 1v1 hand-to-hand combat with a polar bear. And at that point, you know, you're toast. Like this polar bear it doesn't even matter if you have weapons, unless you have a gun. Pretty much, you're not fighting back. So, you know, these things are just a whole different level, and because of that, we made them. Hey, you know, they know that they're going to win a good fight against you. They will actually attack you if they see you or if you get too close to them. Whereas a black bear, it's not decisive, and you know, animals in nature have a tendency to be smart about picking their fights and stuff. That's kind of one of the fundamental things about evolution, is that you have a good sense of what can I fight and what can't I fight. Because remember, it's not enough for an animal in nature to win the fight and get its meal, right? If and it's not just humans versus bears, that's anything. If you're a lion, right, and you pick a fight against a really big wildebeest, and that wildebeest kicks you in the face, even though you're a lion and you've got claws and powerful teeth and you can kill that thing, if you as a lion sustain injuries fighting this wildebeest that makes you unable to hunt again later, it doesn't matter whether or not you beat the wildebeest, right? You have sustained injuries that are going to put you out of the ability to hunt. Maybe a lion's not a good example because they have prides and teamwork and stuff like that, but maybe another big cat like a tiger or something. If you take enough injuries fighting something in the animal kingdom, it doesn't matter whether or not you win. If those injuries are sufficient to prevent you from hunting again, you will die of starvation. So animals, they tend to have a pretty good evolved sense of what can I fight for my next meal and win decisively against. You know, they make these movies about like these giant King Kongs and these giant lizard things like Godzilla fighting each other and stuff like that's not very realistic, right? In reality, those creatures would be like, okay, your territory's over there and my territory's over here, and I'm just going to let you do your thing and I'm going to do my thing, because if we fight each other, we both lose. And animals have a good sense of that. All right, so anyway, I just wanted to explain this behavior, and I also wanted to explain that the polar bear is based off of the dire wolf. And the dire wolf has wolf-like behavior. It will relentlessly pursue any villager it sees, but unlike the brown bears, this dire wolf, villagers don't fight dire wolves with arrows. They fight them with dirk knives, basically. So what we've done is we're saying that the polar bear hide is impervious to villager arrows. So therefore, if you send villagers to harvest food from a polar bear, they're not gonna be using their bows, because it is said that their bow arrows cannot penetrate thick polar bear Arctic blubber and hide. All right, so that's kind of our little lore excuse, our flavorful, immersive excuse for why villagers have to shank polar bears. So I came up with some pretty insane statistics, and people have said, oh, that's too crazy. So we're going to test. We are going to test it, and we're going to figure it out. All right, and then the final thing that I wanted to mention, I know that you guys are anxious to kill villagers, and we will do that, but there is one more kind of useful analysis that we've got here. And that is, I've used AI. So I'm going to post I'm not going to go over all of this right now in the video. Although I think it's kind of fun to watch the, you know, I know. Whoever invented AI was definitely not like, you know what, let's design an AI so that people can ask about hypothetical matchups. Like, how many adult men with medieval hunting bows would it take to defeat an adult black bear? All right, but, you know, the AI, it goes and it does all the searches across the internet, and it sees what people's writing, and it uses learning and everything, and and I think it gives a pretty good estimate here. So the reason that this is important is because we asked the AI to perform an analysis on, okay, how many people is realistic. Now, that does not mean that we're going to, you know, scroll to the end and we're going to be like, okay, we need 8 to 12 villagers with medieval hunting bows in order to defeat an adult black bear. I am not going to set these things up like that. That would be asinine. Nobody wants to do that. But what I can do is I can look at these numbers that it gives, and I can say, oh, you know, 8 to 12 adult men for the black bear, and then I can look at its analysis of the grizzly bear, which says 16 to 24, and then I can look at its analysis for the polar bear, and I can see 30 to 50. And what this does is, even though there would be a complete rebellion in the league if I actually, you know, if I actually designed the bears to require that many villagers to take down, right? It would be a total rebellion. I could never do that. The people would be like, this is Age of Empires, man. We just want to have some fun. But what I can do is I can design the relative power levels of these units to respect reality. Because the worst thing that we can have happen is to like not do our homework on these bears, and then we play Alchemy League Season 4, and like the polar bears are pathetic, and they're weaker than a black bear. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants a black bear ripping through villagers while the polar bear gets completely wiped out. That doesn't make you feel very good, right? That makes us that makes me as a tournament host look lazy. So yes, you know, we got to scale the power levels of these bears so that they're realistic, but we can at least get like relative power levels between these bears, and then we're going to scale them according to what the game can do. So what could people actually play with? So all right, let's go kill some villagers, guys. So here's the first thing that I'm going to do. I got 3 villagers right here. Grok says that I need 8 to 12. I don't believe that, but the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually just going to bring up the script, and you can see that we've got all the different parameters here. Oh, by the way, we gave these polar bears damage resistance of 100%. So even if you're Magyars, you shouldn't be able to cheese them. All right, so let's go and we'll adjust real quick the number of villagers. Let's see. And we're going to have... Oh, all right. Let's do something. Villager base F. All right, and then we are going to do number of groups. And we're going to do 20. And we're going to start off with giving ourselves 20 villagers. Hopefully that's enough. If it's not enough, then we're kind of in trouble. And we'll spawn them maybe between 5 and 7 tiles or something like that from the town center. What else should we do while we're into the script? Let's just look and see if there's anything that could bias the tests. If you guys know of something that could bias the tests, sound off. But one of the first things that I'm going to do is I'm going to move these town centers further apart. So the reason that I have them this close together is to evaluate laming, right? So I could go over and kind of like try to lame my opponent's boar and find it more easily, or lame my opponent's bear in this case. But we don't need that right now because we're just testing villager relative power levels. So we're going to spread these town centers out a little bit more. And to do that, we got to go down to land generation. And looks like we've got some pretty restrictive borders. So we're gonna dial them down to 20. And that should cause the town centers to spawn much further away so that we don't have to worry about our enemy, especially since he starts with 20 villagers now. We don't want him running into our town and screwing up our test. All right, so here's our mob of villagers, and then you can see that we're still surrounded by some bears. We still got some polar bears. Okay, good stuff. And we're further away from our opponent, so that's nice too. And then the final thing that I'm going to remove, and I don't think it's going to affect it, but you can never be sure. We've got a bear right here standing on some elevation. Is we're going to get rid of the elevation because even though it looks pretty, we just want to eliminate that as a possibility. So we're going to comment out simple elevation, and then we're just going to hit generate to make sure that we didn't screw something up stupidly. And sure enough, our map is entirely flat. Now I can assure you, Alaska maps will not be flat, but most of them. But let's remove that variable from our analysis. Okay, so looks good. Let's go in and do a test in the scenario editor. All right, so we're gonna exit, or in single player, I should say, skirmish mode, and we'll go over here to the bear test. I was just working on Aleutian Islands bear test. 2 players. All right, me versus the AI. We're gonna put the AI difficulty on the easiest, so he doesn't attack me. I'm already going to be suffering with the bears as it is. So these are going to be unloomed villagers. All right, and let's cheat a little bit, because I don't want to spend a lot of time scouting out the bears. All right, so it looks like we've got a black bear here, and okay, we got a polar bear, another black bear, and okay, there's a brown bear up here. So we got all 3 types relatively close together. So, let us do a test. We're going to send 1 villager first to see if we can kill this black bear. And then to this other black bear, we're actually going to send 2 villagers. Now, these are female villagers, but of course they have the same statistics. Alright, so she's going to shoot, and we're going to just do this test the same way, where the villager just shoots, and you can see that 1 villager was not enough, but 2 villagers were actually enough. Okay, so we were able to take that bear down with just 2 villagers, which is pretty impressive. I was the Burmese. I probably should have made sure that I was the Magyars. Okay, so now let's we our actual in game is actually 2 for the black bears, which is really quite pathetic actually. All right, so now here's the grizzly bear. Let's see what we're at with that. What did it say for Grok for the? Actually, let me just write this down real quick. We'll bring up the website again. Okay, so it says that the nominal amount is 10 people for the black bear. Yeah, the black bear, 10 people. So I'm going to put that in chat as the nominal. So I'm going to write 10 for the black bear, and this is going to be just kind of like a quick cheat sheet. And then, okay, 16 to 24. So it's about 20 for the grizzly bear. So nominally, it's about twice as hard to kill. All right. And then for the polar bear, it's 30 to 50. So it's 40. So basically, it's kind of cool. It doubles every single time. That's its nominally, you know, variation. But, okay. Let's go and try to kill this grizzly bear now. So, if we send 2 villagers, can we kill this grizzly bear? Not looking good. This grizzly bear has way more attack because he's based off of the iron boar. So we failed to kill that grizzly bear, but we do have another one over here. Alright, so 2 is not enough. Let's send 3. Okay, and we'll do it kind of like that, and we'll let this other grizzly bear recharge. We've got 2 more villagers on the ready, and we're gonna send 4. Hey, X Factor, welcome. What's your take on AI? Do you use it? If so, which ones? Hey, Sandy, welcome. All right, so we got 3 villagers fighting this brown bear here, and they succumb. They eventually do go down. All right, so that's not enough. What about 4? So these are unloomed villagers, remember. So the grizzly bear is fighting, kills 1 villager, kills 2 villagers, but ends up dying. All right, so here's what this tells me. This tells me that this grizzly bear is not powerful enough, actually. If 2 villagers were capable of killing the black bear, then we need to be able to kill this brown bear with 4 villagers. And then maybe it's kind of just barely close. Let's see what happens. Okay, so to answer your question, I do use the AI, but I don't believe it. I use it mainly to do minutia things. I used it to make the website for the Alchemy AOE community. I think AI can do some basic, like mundane programming tasks where there's all kinds of like small details. There's like vocabulary that you don't know. The AI is very useful for that, but it's not going to substitute your knowledge of programming. All right, let me buff this grizzly bear a little bit then. So how can I buff this grizzly bear? Well, I can, let's see here. We could change the hit points. I don't want to change the move speed. See, the move speed, the grizzly bear is actually faster than the black bear. So the move speed for the black bear is 0.8. The move speed for the grizzly bear is 0.9. And the move speed for the polar bear is 0.85. I've actually already adjusted these based on research I did about how fast these bears could run. So I don't want to change that. So let us maybe increase the number of hit points, because we could change the regeneration rate, but you know, that's kind of not intuitive. Damage reflection won't affect these villagers that are using bows to hunt the bear. And the reload time, we could go for the reload time, but his damage output is already so much larger than the black bears that I don't really feel comfortable with that. So let us, or we could make the black bear weaker, but I don't like doing that. So I'm going to increase the grizzly bear's hit points to 30, and we're going to try again. So remember, 30 hit points, and we want 4 villagers to be able to just barely kill him. He kind of went down too easily. We sent 3, and the 3 villagers couldn't kill him. So we're going to send these 4 villagers now. Alright. Marco Polo. Alright. Let's see. See if he puts up a little bit better of a fight this time. He's got 30 HP. The villagers they're working on him. Alright, so he just barely wins. So that tells me that our correct number of hit points is somewhere between 24 and 30. So let us try 28. Okay, I actually think we're really, really close. It's just a 2 HP difference, really. It's kind of funny that we're sort of this close. And you guys could, you guys could debate it. Maybe you feel like Marco Polo. All right, maybe you feel like this isn't really fair. You know, the bears should be a little bit more challenging. They are a lot of food. But the good news is that's pretty easy to scale up, in my opinion. We just double their health, let's say, if we wanted to double the number of villagers. And that's the other thing, too, is there is a bit of variation in the tests. So, you know, he may spend more time running. So let's just do this test again. See if we're kind of close, if it's on the edge. But yes, 4 villagers were able to defeat this grizzly bear, because they're Age of Empires villagers, and they're very effective against predators. Apparently. Okay. So we're going to attack him, get his attention. Here he comes. Just 1 villager down, 2 villagers down. Alright, and he's just barely alive. Okay, so I think the bear is in a good place now. We buffed his health by 4 points, which does not sound like a lot, actually. But it happens to the bear, you know, kind of barely beats 4 villagers sometimes. Sometimes he doesn't beat 4 villagers. We could talk about a potential buff to the black bear. Let's do another test with the black bear and send 2 villagers, and we'll see if there's a situation where the black bear can actually win against 2 villagers. So this is kind of a non-ideal situation where this lady starts attacking first. and the black bear goes down. He only does about half of her health and damage. So maybe the black bear needs a little bit of a buff as well. We just send the one villager, and the black bear should be able to pretty easily kill her. Yeah, it's just one. So it's a big commitment to send 2 villagers to lame. So that's another thing that you got to kind of think about. Could my opponent send a single villager across the map and just lame my bears this way? Yeah, so let's buff the black bear just a little bit. We'll get the black bear where we want him. So maybe we give the black bear 20 HP. Or even start up. Let's do the high side. Let's give him like 24 HP. Alright, and then we will restart. Alright. So, 2 villagers onto this black bear. 2 villagers onto this black bear. He's got 24 HP. And it's just kind of random. We sent the villagers here. Black bear runs to engage. And they actually still take him down pretty decisively, I would say. The black bear, it's almost like it's not really doing enough damage, so I'm tempted to decrease the reload time of this black bear so that it can kind of rip through a villager faster. I don't really want to buff the health of the black bear too much more, because it's actually getting kind of close to the brown bear. So let's do something different then. Let's give the black bear 20 HP. And let's give him a 1 second reload time. So his damage output is actually significantly greater. Alright, and then let's try restarting and see how that goes. Alright, so 2 villagers down here. And 2 villagers onto this one. Okay, well, more effectively took a villager out that way. But still needs a little bit more health, I think. So, we'll buff him back up to 24 hit points. The other thing we could change about him is his regeneration rate, but that's not an intuitive... I guess the reload time isn't really intuitive either. Alright. So he's got 24 HP and a very fast attack. Alright, I think that's pretty much exactly where we want. We're going to let him regenerate a little bit, and then we'll run the test again. But we want it to be very close, just like how our brown bear was very close. Because then we know that we're kind of at that data point, you know? Alright, here we go. We'll try again. 2 villagers versus the black bear. The black bear won. Now, even the smallest amount of micro, though. So the black bear wins again. What if we decrease his health by 1 point? I know. It's just a single point. Actually, we'll decrease it by 2. So it's 22. And then we'll test again. I think we're really close to getting this black bear to be kind of like random. Half the time he wins, half the time he doesn't. Depends on how quickly the villagers get the shot off, how coordinated the villagers are. Alright, go kill that black bear, and you two go kill that black bear. Okay, so 2 hit points, and she's at 1/3 of her health. Isn't that crazy? Wow. Alright, so it's really all a matter of 2 hit points. Let's give him 1 more hit point. Split the difference between 22 and 24. And remember, these are unloomed villagers as well. They're unloomed villagers, so we can potentially get loom, and we can test that out as well. But yeah, these black bears are way weaker than the usual boar. So he won that time. And the villager won that. Alright, so that's about right. So then the final consideration is luring this thing into the town center. So how's that going to feel? Oh, you keep doing your thing. So let's send a full HP villager out, no loom, and we will attempt to lure. Hey, Jasuki! I think the key is in the regen, as one vill deals less damage than the bear regens. The bear does regenerate quite quickly. Alright, so we're going to try to bring this bear into our town center. Bear is already full health. He attacks quite quickly. And he kills her before she can even bring the bear back to the town center. So let's try... Let's get loom. And let's try again. With loom this time. And first thing that we're going to do is we're going to see if sending a single loomed villager to kill this black bear is successful. No. So a single loomed villager will still not lame a black bear, which is good. And that's an important thing to test for. So if we sent two... Oops. Let's see if we can lure this black bear into our town center with a single loomed villager. We should be able to do that now. Yep. And it deals a decent amount of damage to him as he retreats to the town center. So, you know, an enemy scout rush or something could still pick off a villager like this, so I think that that's good. So the final thing that we're going to test now is we're going to have two villagers come over here, and they're loomed now. And we're going to have them attack this black bear. And it should be pretty decisive. I guess what we'll say is if you show up and you go to kill a black bear with bows and Kevlar vests, all you need is one hunting buddy. And you should be able to do some decent damage to him. Yeah, that's really nice, actually. That's pretty much exactly what I'm looking for. You know, the cost of getting loom is you sometimes save a villager, maybe sometimes don't. But you don't need to be quite as careful. You know, I'm really okay with these being on their own power level, separate from boars. Okay, and let's send 4 villagers now to fight this grizzly bear, and they have loom now. So let's see what happens. Come on. All right, so we'll send him up here, and then. No. It was a botched test. Just me being bad at clicking. The villagers are much sturdier, so he only kills 2 of them. And I think... Oh, he gets 3. He gets 3, but the remaining villager... Actually, that was kind of a bad test. We should do that test again. So where's our other grizzly bear? There he is. We're just going to tell him to come here, and then right-click on the grizzly bear, and they're going to engage. So... The grizzly bear could kill 3 of them, but I think it's going to be more along the lines of only 2 loomed villagers. So here they come. Yep, it's 2. So... 3 if you micro badly, like if you're not prepared or if you stumble upon the bear, and then only 2 if the villagers just go straight to it because they know where the bear is and you click directly on it. So that seems about right. So now let's restart and let's do the polar bear test, which should be the most interesting, honestly. All right. And to make sure the test isn't biased, we always do the Marco Polo. Alright, so we expect that if we send 4 villagers to attack this polar bear, So far, you know, the black bear and the grizzly bear are, in terms of power levels, they're consistent because AI tells us that the grizzly bear takes twice as many people to take down as the polar bear, or sorry, as the black bear. So with our testing and with that analysis from the AI, we're consistent. So let's go see about the polar bear. It should take about 8 villagers to take down. Now these villagers, remember, their bows cannot penetrate the polar bear's tough hide. So they have to fight it with dirk knives, and he wrecks them. Wow. Alright. So that polar bear is too tough for them. You'd also check for how many you need for none of them to die. That's a good question. I think that what will end up happening, though, is people will just lure them into their town centers. But we could check on that. Alright, so this polar bear is worth 600 food. Alright, so now let's send 6. And see if 6 does the trick. Huh. So the reason that these villagers around it, it's as though the bear has trample damage. But it's not really trample damage because I can't mod the bear to have trample damage. But I can mod him to have damage reflection. So 6 is sufficient. But the AI tells us that we need 8. So therefore this bear is actually not strong enough. We need to mod this bear. We need to make him a little bit tougher. So this polar bear, let's see, what can we change about him? We could, I don't want to change his move speed because we've already figured that out relative to the other bears. We could improve his regeneration rate. We could increase his damage reflection, which I don't want to do. Or we could increase his hit points. And I think I'm leaning toward increasing his hit points. Because reload time is already really fast. So let's increase his hit points to 90. And we will restart. I know, I was told to nerf this polar bear, but my analysis is showing that I need to buff him. Alright, 6 villagers. Maybe a little bit too strong, but I don't know. Because it should be 8, right? 8 should be the magic number. And in that case, the bear actually killed everybody. Let's see. Adam says, can you make the bear travel all over the map and aggro on people when close? Actually, yes. Let me demonstrate that right now. What I can do is I can change the bear's line of sight. And this is something that I actually... I made it this... I actually nerfed this. So I've got this snow bear here. It's currently a line of sight of 4. The bear will attack anything in its line of sight. So if I change its line of sight to 40, watch what happens. So these polar bears have a line of sight of 40. And that puts them in vision range of these villagers. And because these villagers are now in their line of sight, they'll just go and seek them out. And it actually looks like nearby villagers are coming in to help because the game sees it as a dire wolf, but that's not good enough. And so then more villagers are coming to fight the bears. And yeah, this is kind of a really silly situation where the bear actually does hunt you out, which is kind of similar to what they would do in the Arctic. But I really don't want people screaming about these bears. And one of the things I can change about them is like their aggressiveness and how much they'll actually do crap like this. And so anything within 40 tiles they're going to go after. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Exactly. Yeah, but people don't want that level of reality. All I'm looking for is to just appropriately scale the power level of these bears. So I'm going to set their line of sight back to 4 so they don't do that. And then we'll rerun a test and we'll see if this number of hit points is appropriate for 8 villagers. So we got 9 villagers here. That. Okay, you stay back. Alright. Alright, here we go. 8 villagers, baby. And they are literally doing this fight in the style of... Yeah, and it looks like only 3 villagers survived. So, they're doing this fight in the style of the analysis provided by the AI. And these villagers could have died. I mean, 2 more of these villagers could have died. I think that's pretty close. Now, you guys, can you give the Vills a special ability of bear spray and make them run away for a while? So now what we're gonna do, I think that's in a fair spot. So what we're gonna do now is we're going to get Loom, and we're gonna rerun the test. So let's get Loom. That would be really funny, but unfortunately no. No bear spray for them. But honestly, I think 2 people fighting... I think 2 people being able to take down and kill a black bear by themselves is still pretty compelling. So we're going to send 8 villagers that have Loom now. And we're going to see how many villagers die as a result. And only 1 villager dies in that case. So I don't know. I think that these bears are pretty fair. Let's do another test. Let's restart this and we'll do another test. And we're basically going to show you how are players actually going to take these bears. Okay? So the way that it's going to work, that players are actually going to take the bears, is like this. Watch. So player will be like, oh, there's 600 food right there. They'll actually probably get Loom first, but we'll try it without Loom. Maybe it's a player is kind of ignorant. No, see, I just lost one because I wasn't experienced with luring these bears. I don't know if this bear is gonna... I don't think he's gonna walk back to his original position. Okay, that bear should run after him. There we go. So players are gonna lure the bears. Nope, 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 nope. Well, I don't know what that was all about. They're gonna lure it. I was just about to show you like how the 2K players are going to lure these bears, and it's basically gonna look like that. But it's gonna be a lot neater. So let me see if I can do it better with this guy right here. Alright. So you... Maybe I can get fancy with the clicks and like the house walls and stuff. You fight this. So these bears are really not going to be a challenge as long as players on a non-nomad map, players have their villagers with a town center and they can protect it. Man, he's got a mind of his own. A 2K player will be much better than me at this. Okay, come on. No! I accidentally clicked the straggler bush. Alright, so it's basically going to be like that. So the bears are really not going to be a challenge. I still feel badly, because it's going to be like free food, essentially. But there's not really much I can do about that, except to make the bears more powerful than they are. Now let's try it with Loom. So we'll restart and we'll try luring these creatures with Loom. I already know where they are, but whatever. Okay, let's get Loom. Let's go for the polar bear because he's the fattest, biggest, fattest, most chunky boy. So the melee damage is basically just kind of anti-laming. Alright, Loom comes in. He does significantly less damage to her. She's actually probably going to survive. Nope. She would have survived if she had Loom when I sent her. Alright, so you're basically, as long as you're careful with your boar lure, you get loom, and you bring it under your town center, you really are not going to have a problem. So, I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that these bears are fair? Do you think that they're too hard? Do you think that they're too easy? Let's try one more thing. Let's try to lure the black bear with loom first. And I mean, the polar bear was probably going to be the hardest one to lure. Getting out of here. So that food is still there. The black bear is, or the brown bear is actually probably the hardest because he's actually faster. But I'm okay with this. Yeah, and there it is. So it's going to be a little bit different. Now there's one more thing I want to try. Now that we've kind of shown how the players are going to play them, which is basically just to lure the bears. They're not going to really go out and fight them in the open, at least not the polar bears, which is probably the way that it should be. We're going to change this to Eagle Scout. The Alaska maps have the Eagle Scout as a starting scout by default. And we're going to rerun. Oh, yeah, I guess that's all right. That's okay. I enjoy our conversation, so I don't mind if it takes a little bit longer. Okay. So we can do a couple of other... Oh, wait a second. I don't think I did that right. Alright, let's try Eagle Warrior. They should start with a Boy Scout. There we go. An Eagle Scout. Alright, and I'm the Burmese, so I can see all the relics, but really I just need to see the enemy base. So let's try and loom the enemy here. Actually, lame the enemy, I should say. And let's give ourselves... Actually, before we do that, why not have, like, multiple eagles? Sending them all over. Number of groups. Let's give ourselves 20 eagles, and we'll give ourselves 3 villagers. So, actually, we'll give ourselves 1 villager. And what that will do is it'll slow the AI down so they can't take the boars as quickly. Okay. How much food does the brown bear have? Marco. So the brown bear has, I believe, 510. So the brown bear has, yeah, 510 is the way that it's set up currently. 340 for the black bear. And 600 for the polar bear. That was based off some research that I did about the relative weights of these bears. I scaled the amount of food that they provide based on how much the animal weighs on average. And that's what I came up with. Alright, so I have an army of Eagle Scouts coming. And we're gonna try laming some of these bears. So we got the black bear here. We got the brown bear here. Yeah, the black bear doesn't really look statistically much different from the brown bear. But he actually is. Alright, so let's see how effective our lame is. So we're going to click the eagle over here to the town center. The bear... Oh, the bear loses interest. Wait, what? The bear loses interest. Executed. You were unable to retain the interest of the bear. I think it's because you got to hit him twice, and I only hit him once. Alright, let's make sure we hit him twice. 1, 2. Alright, Now let's run home. Lost interest again. I don't know if we can do this. Alright, let's try to make sure we hit him twice. Once. Twice. Alright, now let's run. Let's go home. Ah, he doesn't make it. So it looks like laming is going to be really challenging, at least for the black bear, which is a good thing. Because these animals are kind of weak. Easy to kill. I don't think we're going to make it. This bear is going to run him down. Maybe the scout cavalry would be better at running down the bear. Alright, let's try the brown bear. I have a feeling this is going to be pretty one-sided, but we'll see. 1, 2. Alright, now let's run home. Brown bear is even faster than the black bear. And yeah, it doesn't make it very far. Okay. Let's try the snow bear now. The polar bear. 1, 2. See if we can lame that. That would be ironic if like the snow bear were the easiest to lame. Oh no, he gives up. Wait, what? Alright, executed. We'll try and steal him again. Okay. What? Oh, you know what? I bet what's happening is he's getting stuck on this brown bear. So we'll just have to kill him. Okay, that was actually surprisingly hard. You can see a little bit of the damage reflection coming through. Alright. 1, 2. Alright, let's run. Polar bear hot on the tail. In pursuit. So polar bear laming might be a thing. Because I don't think that this polar bear is going to go back to his original starting position. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. So what we could do is we could force the polar bear to be on defensive stance. So that that food cannot be moved across the map like that. Yeah, because he's not going back. Oh, that's unfortunate. That is unfortunate. Either that or we buff him even further so he just tears through an Eagle Scout before the Eagle Scout can really move very much. What do you guys think? Well, let me know what you think. I'll have to mull it over. Maybe putting him in defensive stance is the best thing to do. You know, the advantage about putting him in defensive stance is because villagers can't cheese this with bows, or because villagers have to attack him with bows because he's actually a dire wolf underneath. I mean, it does cost you your scout for that food. So it could be a case-by-case basis. But because the villagers have to shank him, you're never going to have to worry about somebody standing on the edge of his line of sight, pelting him with arrows until he dies. Alright, so Adam says, I think they should be feared and able to be brought to an enemy base. Jasuki says, I think they should go back. So we have one person for no defensive stance and one person for defensive stance. Well, let me show you guys what it would look like. What defensive stance on this polar bear would look like. So he's the snow bear here. Oh, one sec. Alright, sorry about that. I had to let the cat out real quick. He came to my door and requested to go outside. And although I could ignore him, it would not be a good idea. Because generally he needs to go outside if he says he wants to go out. Alright, so we come over here to where the snow bear is and we say set Gaia unconvertible. There we go. And so that will put him on defensive stance. And now we're going to restart. Alright. Now, let's go steal ourselves a snow bear. An army of eagle scouts on the move. And we'll show what happens when we try to steal this polar bear. So, we run around this polar bear a little bit, and he should... Oh, actually, hold on. This isn't... Yeah, this is a scout class, so he's not going to automatically attack us. So we attack him, and we start running, and he goes back. So that's basically what it looks like. So, I don't... You know, we have to melee attack this polar bear. But he will, this polar bear will automatically go for the villager. But let's see if we can, like, run up to it and then get away from it. Alright, so let's see if it'll stop attacking. Come on. And it'll stop attacking. So, you blunder into it if it's on defensive stance. And you can get away. So maybe that's an advantage. I don't know. And I guess it depends on how challenging people want these snow bears to be. These polar bears. Should this be the kind of creature that you can pull across the map, but, you know, it's not really that hungry and it just attacks you if you get too close? Or should it just chase you everywhere? Hunt you down and try to kill you. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, I guess I'm good with either one. I'm going to do another test here. And I'm actually curious to see how many eagles are required to defeat this polar bear. It could be kind of a representation of how well the polar bear withstands being attacked by man-at-arms or something. Okay, so 5 eagles is definitely enough. Let's try 4. And to be fair, these guys are in like eagle costumes with spears and stuff, so they're tougher than your average villager with a dirk knife. So we'll have them come over here, maybe 4, and attack that polar bear, just to get a good feel for it. And that would tell us, okay, yeah, I don't know either. I guess what we'll do is in the server, we'll ask. Oh, come on! Alright, whatever. We'll just restart and we'll attack our own polar bear. We can ask people in the server which they would prefer. Point them to this video doing the analysis. I will update the statistics of the bears. Do we want to make the polar bear different? You know, have different behavior. Alright, let's try 4 eagles. Okay, so it looks like with 4, he kills 1, and the others are seriously injured. I think that's fair. I think that's okay. Jasuki says, I thought the behavior would be like boars or other bears, like it follows you, but it comes back after it kills you. Unfortunately, it seems that that is not the case. But it also kind of makes sense. I mean, polar bears, I don't think, unlike the other bears, which may have a set territory, polar bears wander around in search of food. So it actually does kind of make sense intuitively. Jasuki says, I think we need to have like a min distance to TC's rule to not have the option of just kill 1 polar bear and go up to feudal. Yeah, that's true. The polar bears only appear on Utqiagvik right now. That is our only map that could feature polar bears so far. There's been talk about developing a Prudo Bay or Dead Horse map, but we don't really have any maps where the polar bears spawn except for that one. It's actually, I do want to mention this. So I went in and I checked, I'll show you actually. We can, you know, AI is your friend. Let's come up here and like polar bear native range. And we can look that up. And we look at like this image here. So, these are, oh come on, I just want a big image to show on stream. Polarbearmanagement.org. What do you think they know? All right, so, I mean, look at this. This is the region that polar bears live in. How many Age of Empires 2 civilizations are from any of these regions? How many Age of Empires 2 maps do we have that feature any of these regions? Can anybody say? Does anybody know? None. We don't have a single Age of Empires map that I know of in any of these regions. Official from the devs or anything like that, except for one. And that is the Vinland Saga. So for Vinland Saga, you can go to Greenland. So you play in that, it's one of the Conqueror's campaigns, and you have like a base in Iceland, and you can go to Greenland, and then you go across the Labrador Sea to Labrador, Newfoundland. So if we go and we check the campaign, let's see if we can spot some polar bears there. Maybe historical battles. There we go. and it's going to be Vinland Saga here. We're going to skip that, and then we're going to resign instantly. Eric the Red must survive. That's this guy right here. So we're just going to resign. Oh, wait, what? Resign. Yes, I want to resign. Let's continue. We don't want to play again. We want to return to map. All right. So the design of the scenario is such, they've actually got this really cool sea serpent thing that they've designed here. This is the Sea of Worms. If you enter this, your ships are destroyed. So what you have to do is it forces you to go across to Greenland here. And this is not very realistic. There aren't pine forests in Greenland like this. And there's people already living in Greenland, apparently, that you have to kind of deal with, fight your way through. And then you have to come over here and fight the Skraelings in Newfoundland / Labrador with lots of big forests and stuff. And it's kind of challenging because you don't have much by way of forests in your starting lands. Although you could expand over here and take these forests for a little while from the Britons. Well, anyway, the one place in Age of Empires where you could, in like vanilla official Age of Empires, where you could find a polar bear. And I don't see a single polar bear in this campaign. Maybe they're planning on updating it so that there are polar bears. What? They have a penguin? That doesn't make any sense. Should have polar bears up here. Yeah, no polar bears. So maybe they made these polar bears just for us. Because we're the only community that's made a map where the polar bears could live. They don't make sense anywhere else. Alright, so that's what I wanted to say about that. We will post the link for this video in the server, and folks can discuss. And after seeing the testing, make a recommendation of polar bear behavior. Should the polar bears be more menacing? But there's the chance that you could move all that food across the map. Or should the polar bears be less menacing, but you know, the food stays in one place? Let me know what you guys think about that. Otherwise, I think we've covered everything with the statistics of these polar bears. Let's just go through and make sure that we've got all of their statistics updated. Let's see. The polar bear needs 90 hit points. The brown bear needs, what was it, 28 hit points we gave him. And yeah, 28 hit points. And the black bear needs 23 hit points. Is it realistic? No. These bears are a lot more powerful than that. But they are relative to each other of the appropriate power level. Oh, and we changed the black bear's attack reload time to 1. No, we didn't. Did we? Yeah, I think we did. He actually has more attack than the brown bear, which is interesting. Let's see. Yeah, reload time of 1. So that doesn't really make much sense when you think about it. Because now he's dealing 7 damage per second, and the brown bear is dealing 6 damage per second. But the brown bear has more health and armor, so I mean, I guess we can kind of spin it that way. Makes sense. I don't think we touched any of the other statistics. So yeah, that's where we're at. I will post the AI analysis of the relative strengths of these different bears, I guess, as comments in the chat. You guys can weigh in on it there too if you wish. I really appreciate everybody joining. Hopefully we kind of have our answer, and these bears are close to what we'll see in the final event. any other concerns or questions or ideas, or, oh, TechChariot, you didn't think about this situation or that situation, please let me know. And we'll see what we can do to maintain the balance, the relative balance between these bears, while also respecting the nuance of how they're used in the game. So thanks, guys, for joining, and hopefully I will see you guys again soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.